Jackie Christie has always been known as a strong woman who rarely shows her emotions in public. If you've ever seen her on Basketball Wives, you'd know she's never been the type to cry or appear weak. She's handled arguments, drama, and chaos with a tough exterior and quick comebacks. But something recently changed. Something inside her seemed to break. In a surprising moment, Jackie sat in front of her phone, visibly upset. Her eyes were red and puffy, her hands shaking. Slightly. This wasn't the Jackie fans were used to. Then she said something that no one expected to hear. She accused former NBA star Chris Webber of betraying her trust in a serious way. According to Jackie, Chris used her name without asking her, possibly to help convince people to invest in what she now believes was a shady business scheme. At first, it sounded hard to believe. Chris Webber, the Hall of Famer, the NCAA legend. But Jackie wasn't just making vague accusations or being dramatic for views. She shared details. She gave names, explained how it all happened, and claimed that what went on behind the scenes was much more serious than anything we've seen on reality TV. According to Jackie, she wasn't just venting. She was exposing what looked like the start of a major financial scandal. She believes she was used without her knowledge as part of a business plan. If what she's saying is even partly true, it could seriously damage Webber's reputation, as well as the companies tied to him. To understand how it got to this point, you have to go back a few years. In 2021, Chris Webber launched a cannabis company called Players Only Holdings. He said it was a step toward social justice, a way to create opportunities for people of color in the growing cannabis industry. It sounded like a great idea. Chris brought his fame, investors brought money, and everyone had a role to play. Jackie, however, claims that something shady was going on in the background, something she wasn't aware of at the time. She says that her name appeared on official business documents and investor presentations as if she were a part of the company. Not just in a casual way, but listed as a brand consultant. This might not sound like a big deal until you realize that if something goes wrong with the business, she could be held responsible. The problem? Jackie says she never agreed to be involved, never signed any papers, and didn't even know her name was being used. She went on livestream and said, "If my name is on those documents, someone either forged it or added it without my approval. I'm ready to take this to court." It wasn't just talk. After she went public, people online started digging, and they found her name listed in documents connected to Chris Webber's company. That's when things got messy. Some people accused Jackie of stirring up drama for attention, but her longtime fans believed her immediately. She didn't sound like she was acting. Her emotions were raw, and she looked genuinely hurt. What made it worse was that, according to Jackie, Chris didn't reach out to explain or apologize. Instead, she received a cease and desist letter from a law firm linked to his company, telling her to stop making what they called false and damaging statements. Jackie didn't back down. In fact, she came back online again, this time saying she had proof, screenshots, voicemails, and messages from others involved in the business, all backing up her claims. "If they want a war," she said during one of her live videos, "they chose the right one." This was no longer just reality show drama. Jackie, who never hesitated to stand up to her castmates, was now taking on something much more serious, an issue that could lead to courtrooms, not just camera crews. Doug Christie, Jackie's husband, and former NBA player, wasn't surprised when things started falling apart. People close to the couple say Doug had warned Jackie years ago to be careful with people from the league. He played with Chris Webber on the Sacramento Kings, and while they were teammates, the friendship never ran deep. There were always differences, ego, values, unspoken tension. Still, Jackie has always been someone who believes in second chances. She tends to see the good in people and tries to bring them together instead of pushing them away. So when Chris came back into her life with a project that seemed to be helping minorities in the cannabis world, she was quick to support it. She thought it was a good cause. She talked about it in interviews, posted on social media, and even went to a few events hosted by Chris's team. What she didn't realize, according to her, was that these small shows of support were being treated like formal business endorsements. That was what hurt the most. She believed she was supporting a cause, not being used as a marketing tool. Worse still, leaked messages started coming out. One message from someone on Chris's team reportedly said, "Jackie's name sells. If she says she's involved, people will write checks. Just get her to post once." Jackie says she only saw that message when a former associate of Chris's sent it to her, along with voice recordings of Chris allegedly talking about how her reputation could be used to make the business look more legitimate. That phrase stuck in her mind, using her brand. It made her feel exploited, and according to those close to her, that's when Doug finally stepped in. He had stayed quiet at first, letting Jackie handle it her way, but when it became clear her name was being misused and people were investing based on lies, he got involved. This story isn't over. Jackie says she's ready to fight this in court, and more details could still come out. What started as a business deal may turn into a legal battle that could affect everyone involved. Doug stepped in when things started spiraling. According to people close to the situation, he and Jackie had a serious argument, but it wasn't because he blamed her. He was upset that she hadn't left the situation earlier. Doug had spent years trying to rebuild his family's image, working hard to distance them from controversy. Now that he was a coach, public perception mattered even more. He reportedly told her, "You have to protect your name. This isn't just personal anymore, it's business too." That was the moment everything changed for Jackie. It wasn't just about her anymore. It was about how this mess could affect their family, their lifestyle, and everything they'd built together. That realization hit hard, and unfortunately, things didn't stop there. Jackie began to notice unsettling changes happening around her. A brand deal she had been working on suddenly collapsed without explanation. A company she'd collaborated with for years stopped responding. Even friends in the industry went quiet. She felt the walls closing in. And that's when fear truly set in. Not just fear of legal trouble, but of being completely silenced. But Jackie didn't back down. Instead of disappearing, she went public. She told her followers that she was assembling a legal team. She even hinted that her lawyers were looking into filing a lawsuit against Chris Weber and anyone else who had used her name or image without permission, or even forged her signature on important documents. The situation quickly became serious. And Jackie wasn't bluffing. She was ready to go to court with evidence and a strong voice. Everything shifted again when she received a voicemail. Jackie hadn't heard from Chris in years, but out of nowhere, a former colleague of his reached out. They sent her a short audio recording. In it, a voice that sounded exactly like Chris's could be heard saying, "Just say Jackie's part of it. She doesn't need to be there. Her name alone makes it look legit." That was it. It all made sense. This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a setup. Jackie played the voicemail over and over, her stomach in knots. It confirmed that her name and reputation were being used to close deals she had no idea about. She always knew the entertainment world had its shady corners, but hearing her name used as a selling point without her knowledge hit differently. This was personal and professional. The very next day, she handed that voicemail over to her lawyers. Jackie's legal team went to work quietly but thoroughly. They gathered screenshots of text messages, emails where her name was mentioned, investor presentations, and that damning voicemail. One of her lawyers said the evidence wasn't just concerning, it clearly pointed to fraud and intentional deception. As they dug deeper, they discovered even more. Jackie's name had been used in connection with at least 2 failed businesses in 2022. Press kits featured her image and quotes she never approved. Investors had already started coming forward, saying they only agreed to put money in because they thought Jackie was involved. One investor claimed to have lost $50,000, saying, "I only signed on because Jackie was listed in the media plan. If she wasn't actually involved, this entire deal was a lie." That one quote spread fast. It went viral on Instagram and trended on Black Twitter. Suddenly, Jackie wasn't just defending her reputation, she was at the center of what could become a civil fraud investigation. Meanwhile, Chris Weber went completely silent. No tweets, no public statements, no interviews. His publicist gave no comments. Even his company's website went down for maintenance. Fans online called it one of the most suspicious silences they'd ever seen. Former teammates were being contacted by reporters, and news outlets were scrambling to find anyone who could speak on the situation. Jackie, on the other hand, didn't stop. She kept going live on social media, responding to messages and posting updates. Fans praised her for staying strong and not backing down. "This isn't just about me," Jackie said during one live stream. "This is about all the women who've had their names used without consent, who were told to stay." Jackie Christie has always been known as a strong woman who rarely shows her emotions in public. If you've ever seen her on Basketball Wives, you'd know she's never been the type to cry or appear weak. She's handled arguments, drama, and chaos with a tough exterior and quick comebacks. But something recently changed. Something inside her seemed to break. In a surprising moment, Jackie sat in front of her phone, visibly upset. Her eyes were red and puffy, her hands shaking. Slightly. This wasn't the Jackie fans were used to. Then she said something that no one expected to hear. She accused former NBA star Chris Webber of betraying her trust in a serious way. According to Jackie, Chris used her name without asking her, possibly to help convince people to invest in what she now believes was a shady business scheme.